Hey everyone, welcome today. Taking a moment today to interview my partner on this podcast, Dr. Brian Capra. Brian has a unique story, over 400 employees now in his organization. How to go from a practicing chiropractor to a software CEO. We're going to get into it. This is a really interesting podcast just to hear the evolution that has to happen to step into that role. Today's podcast is sponsored by Chiro Matchmakers. If you need an associate doctor, if you need an offshore real life person to help with the practice, if you need a CA, that's what we do at Chiro Matchmakers. We're specialists in providing top-notch quality people to help you build your practice. Really consider this VCA side of things that we invented. We're finding, A-level college educated people to help do a lot of the dirty work in the practice that your on-site staff doesn't want to do, or they're really not educated or trained to do. It's really a fascinating way to scale your practice and at a huge cost savings. You're getting people that would cost six figures in the United States at $9.87. To find out more, look us up at chiromatchmakers.com. Let's get going. Welcome into the UAC Best Practices Podcast. I'm Dr. Alan Miner, and I'm here today with my co-host, Dr. Brian Capra. And, Brian and I have interviewed close to 100 people now at this point. But today we thought we've actually never interviewed each other. So I'm going to interview Brian. He'll interview me sometime in the near future. So Dr. Brian, welcome. You've been in UAC as long as I was, from the early days. You were just launching. You just stepped out of your practice and were ramping up. I remember with Maximized Living Docs were kind of your initial niche as you're starting the software program. So, you started your own practice working out of a gym, and then you met some patients, and that was the early seed of what became Genesis Software. Take us through particularly, here's why. The average person in UAC is attracted, UAC, to be really clear, is not coaching. It's a group of chiropractors who are thinking really big. There's a lot of people to come into UAC, you've got to have a successful clinic because the minimum revenue is $1 million. And you don't even have to be a chiropractor to be in UAC. You have to have a business that serves chiropractors. But most people come in, they are serving, in their practice, but they're wanting to go bigger. And whether that's starting a software company or a staffing company or opening multiple clinics or maybe even just growing their clinic as big as they can, it's where you've evolved past coaching. You've kind of figured out your core chiropractic business, and now there's something else. So how did you evolve through that? You're cranking, you're in a gym, you're growing, and all of a sudden something starts to creep in where now you've been running a software company for more than a decade. So take us through that journey.
Okay. Yeah. It's kind of just serendipity. Just a lot of things just kind of fell into place. One was I felt a real big desire to solve a big problem that I felt existed. Didn't have a solution for it, but what that problem was that the technology for me that existed at the time wasn't helping me proactively identify attrition risks, patients that were behaving in a way that was showing us that they were going to leave. And we kind of do those things. We did them when we had paper. We did them when things got better with more automation and the software at the time. But for example, a patient that leaves without a future appointment for me, or misses an appointment, and doesn't proactively reach out to your practice to reschedule it, it's a big giant red flag, right? Like, wait a minute, you didn't come. And like the analogy I always used in the past when I would be on stage or whatever is they never miss their chemotherapy appointment and forget to reschedule it, right?
Yeah.
And that's poison. So what are they telling you is they forgot the value of your care. Most likely. Things happen, people get busy, and maybe they call you the next day. Oh my God, I can't. But if they ghost, it's a big problem. So what would typically have to happen in another software would be, you run your missed appointment, report. and maybe you call them, or maybe your staff calls them. And then if you don't reschedule them, pretty quickly, they go into a black hole. And, you lose them until you remember at some point later, you wake up in the morning, like, whatever happened to so-and-so? And you go back to the office and they missed a visit. They never came back in. We didn't present the new care plan with 10,000 different reasons why. You find that problem and you address that problem through training your team and your huddles and your whatever. And they get better at that one thing until another procedure falls down because they can't do everything. Right. So usually it's kind of like a management by fire methodology. And it's ironically in the past, practice management technology I felt was built that didn't actually help you manage your practice. It helped you do some things better, check in people and, see their x-rays on the screen. And that was all better. It was definitely better. But so I'm in practice, and long story short is I got introduced to two guys that were building technology for medical billing. That's even longer story, but that's the short of it. And what I realized with the technology is, well, first of all, I became their first customer, because I had the same billing company as my coach that, who was very well known, and they sucked. They were awful. I couldn't collect. I didn't know what I was collecting, what I billed. It was a disaster. So I implemented this tech methodology. Really, it's people, process, and technology. And my collections went up by 40%. And the secret was automated workflow, artificial intelligence, not like we think about it today, but the rudimentary form of AI.
Yeah.
And automated workflow and identification, straight through processing of claims and identification of what claims need to actually be followed up on today before the end of the day to get me paid everything I deserve. And transparent, online, in the cloud, 20 plus years ago, right? So I saw that workflow methodology and how that would apply to my patients, my retention or my patient relationships. And my collections went up. So I said to them, hey guys, this is really awesome. I know a lot of docs that need it. And we formed a partnership. So our first, hack at this was actually called Billing Precision because it was only a billing service at the time.
Yeah.
But my vision was if we can both build on top of that a full practice management platform, we'd have something completely unique and different in the cloud using AI 20 plus years ago, right? And but before I met them, I was going to franchise practices in gyms. That was my big vision, right? When I saw this, I knew I could make a bigger impact on the profession and patients ultimately. So we went
How
for
long
it.
did
And you're
you? How
young and
long
you
did
just go for it, man.
Yeah.
Like,
How long was that period where you were now doing billing precision and then Genesis, but still in practice? How long did you do both?
that was only a couple years. I had only been in practice. I graduated 2002. We started in 2004. That's how fast it was. Then within a couple of years, I was completely out of practice, just too busy with billing precision at the time, and it evolved from there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what have you learned along the way? I mean, you're a business to business person, you're selling to chiropractors, which is different than business to consumer B2C, where you're selling to patients. Uh, how did you evolve? I call it like your CEO, almost your PhD as a CEO. It takes some time. You're a practitioner who is still pretty new in running that business. Now you're literally a CEO of a software company. There's an identity shift that has to happen there. There's a knowledge base that has to happen there. I mean, can you talk just a little bit about what helped you make that transition, or some of the stumbles or pitfalls you made that would help somebody else avoid that transition, or people or books you've read that had influence that also made that easier for you?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was just by necessity. You're just, you have this great idea and luckily one of my business partners was a CIO at Lehman Brothers before he left Lehman and started to develop a software company, which ultimately became, because initially the software was actually built for hedge fund trading.
Hmm.
Then it evolved into medical billing. Then I came into the picture, but he had a ton of corporate experience. So one of the things was I learned a lot from him, just understanding the nature of business, how it actually is run with, quantifying work, delegating work, verifying it's completed. It's actually built into the methodology. Um, a lot of it, though, is like you said, you just kind of gotta read a lot of books, talk to a lot of people. What can I tell people to? It's, I don't know. To be perfectly honest with you, what I can tell people is at the end of the day, every business is three things: it's people, process, and technology. Over and over and over and over, and you continue to iterate, you continue to measure your results, and adapt and scale. You got to focus on process, standard, all those things. Like if you ever read one of the books I read very early on that has helps me to this day was the E-Myth. You know, if you, a lot of people have read it, but I think what's interesting is the bigger your company gets, the more important you see the principles in that book are. Um, it's like when you have a big practice, right? The things that are you're getting away with at 200 visits a week really become big problems at 4 or 5. Forget 1,000, right? You When you're growing a business, you just start to see those little things really come to the surface, and then you have problems that creates a problem that you have to solve, and then you
Yeah.
solve. What's the people I need? Is it a process problem? Is it a technology problem? It's usually only one of those three things.
How have you, how's the people side of things? How many people at your largest are in your organization?
There's 400 people.
So 400 people.
Not
What have you,
internationally. Yeah,
sure.
there's
What have you learned managing 400 people? You know, is it just maybe something, a best practice, a nugget, if you will, that you've applied now that maybe helps you steer clear of some of the hires you might have made 7, 8 years ago that you don't make now?
uh well, at this point, there's a lot of vetting that happens before they even get to me, thankfully.
Yeah.
So there's all those. I know you're a master at this. So, whatever there is, whatever tool you use, I love your guys' tool. But there needs to be some type of assessment of this person, who they are, what's their makeup, are are they ideally suited for the role that you're hiring for? Um, and really trying to hone in on what that is, because I can tell you, we've had people that are fantastic people, tons of chiropractic knowledge, hired them, and they've done okay. I can think of one in particular, Angela. She's awesome. Always has been. I've known her for 20 something years. She was working in a practice. We hired her eventually. We put her in sales. She hated it. She was doing okay, but she freaking hated it. Eventually, she made it to, we had a really big need a couple of years ago to totally revamp the training for new hires and support and onboarding, and we needed our own university for it. That's how big of a problem it became. And it's like that's her gift in life, is teaching people and organizing training materials, and she loves it, right? And now the training and the onboarding, the training for those people is off the chart. So finding out who those people really are and what their real strength is and what they like to do. Maybe the most important question you ask is, what do you want to do? What you're interviewing for a job. Sometimes they're interviewing for a job because they need a job,
Yeah.
and it's like sort of close to what their skill set is. But if you could do anything in the company, what would you want to do?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll be like, well, if I really could, if there was an opening, I would go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, even all the way back to where you started, where I started as a practicing chiropractor, and then when people start hiring associates, that's a mistake they make, is because you don't have that many people on your team initially. You might have a couple CAs and an associate doc. So you're trying to get everybody to do what you did, was wear all the hats. And you see pretty quickly, sometimes you get lucky and you find like Angela, somebody who's got a niche that you have in your practice. But a lot of times what happens is you have people doing a lot of stuff that they don't love doing. They don't have the skill set. They don't have the behavioral makeup for it. And it really fries people out. And classically, the one I've been guilty of is taking really good salespeople and promoting them up into training and managing other salespeople.
Yeah.
And that's so often, it's not the
You
same
probably
thing.
figured out now, doing what you've been doing with matchmakers, and that those are two different people, like
Totally.
completely
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
But you think you sell our stuff better than anybody. You should help the other people selling our stuff. But it's not the same thing. Really not.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, very good, Brian. Well, how about let's talk, and then we got to wrap it up here. UAC, what's been the benefit to you? Why have you been in UAC? You're a success partner of UAC. You sponsored it. You're on our board. So you have a lot to say with the events, what we're doing, how we're curating this experience for chiropractors. What's been the benefit to your both personal and business life of being in UAC the last decade?
Man, it's like you said, we've been in it for a long time now, and it's been awesome to see it evolve into what it is. Not that it wasn't great before, because it was awesome when I started, and it's awesome now. But the friendships is number one for me. The relationships, guys like you, and everybody, Steven, and everybody. That's because it's just their personal relationships. In addition to that, the business acumen that's in the room. And life knowledge, information, people that have done great things, not just in business, but families and whatnot. And the ability to just be around people that are vibrating at a high level is there's no value you can put on that. The accountability in the accountability groups. We had our accountability call today. It was the best accountability call I think maybe I've had in 10 years, actually.
Wow.
It's not always just, hey, what's your numbers? What are you doing business wise? This was a personal issue for one of our members that we rallied around them and prayed with them. And it was one of the more emotional calls I've ever been on in my life.
Wow.
And you just can't put a value on something like that, right?
You can't. But there's something, we're chiropractors, so we think differently. We've just got this inside out, innate kind of thing. So then to take that DNA, if you will, and then step into a room of people operating really successful businesses at a really high level, and we talk regularly. We're over 400 million in revenue. I think we're gonna cross $500 million next year. That room is creating through all of our businesses in chiropractic. It's a powerful room, and when you get this, and that's what's so cool is you get people from every corner of the profession, but there's still just at the root of it, there's that kind of core DNA of being a chiropractor or the principal of chiropractic that then has evolved itself into operating a business with 400 employees. It's a unique environment, isn't it?
Yeah, because usually we're or in the past, you work in silos, right? And it's just, you don't think about usually it's like a coaching group if you're a chiropractor or something like that. This is just surrounding yourself with people like-minded, right? And that, like you said, that thought process, how we think, is different. I used to say in the beginning when we go into UAC room, have you ever seen the Christmas Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer where there's like the land of the misfits? It's just like they're all there having fun, happy. And I feel like this is it. This is like the room, the group of the island of the misfits. We're all happy. We're all different, but it's a safe, I hate to use the word safe space, but it's like, it's a safe space. It's like we just get each other, we all get each other. And it's super nice just to be able to go somewhere cool, a cool event or whatever, and be around people of like mind, exchange ideas, and actually see the fruit of those things over time. Like, look what you're doing now. I mean, it's totally different than what you were doing when we met. But I've seen Pete Martone. We were on an accountability call when he had an idea for a pillow. He's crushing it. Danny Bampa, my accountability group, I've seen him through some of the hardest parts of his life, and look where he is today. And he has done the same for me. But it's a beautiful thing when you get together, like minds, exchange ideas, see people actually implement those things and the impact it has on their life and their business. I mean, you can't it's hard to articulate the value of UAC. You know, it really is.
Well done. Well, Dr. Brian, pleasure to get to ask those questions and get a little deeper with you today.
I'm
Thanks for
number
doing
99. That's
that. Yep. Well, cool. Well, good deal, man. We'll be right back with 100.
yeah. All right.
Thanks, man.